Time for the Writer's Block, our weekly look at sports. I'm Jenni Carlson here in the studios of the Oklahoman, joined by the great, the one, the only Cedric Golden from the Austin American-Statesman. Hello, my friend.
What's up? And I love sports. Let's talk sports.
Yeah, and you know what? I said it last week, and it was true last week. It's game week, but you know what? It's game week again because the NFL is kicking off this weekend. Actually, Thursday night's the first game. Then a full slate this weekend, but Cedric, we can't get to the season until we talk about some unfinished business, which I guess is now finished, that being Ezekiel Elliot. He's a Cowboy. He's getting some coin out of this whole deal. We thought that this deal would get done, but it did sort of wait till the last minute. How did this play out in your mind? Did it feel like this was how it was going to happen?
I thought it would happen last week when we talked, but Jerry Jones, he was backed up against a wall, and well, what do you got to do? He's your best player. Pay him. Give that man his money. Pay him the money. You want to win a Super Bowl? You want to win the NFC East? You want to compete against Drew Brees and Carson Wentz and Jared Goff in the playoffs? Then you need to give your best player the money that he deserves. He knows that he's only got like 3 or 4 years shelf life before they throw you on the scrap heap at that position. So he had to maximize his earning potential. It was kind of a witching hour type thing, but he's going to get three full practices out of this. He's going to play on Sunday against the Giants. I'll be there. And I just think that Jerry had to cut that check. He had to cut that check, or the Cowboys were going to risk being basically who they've been for the last 20 years. Not a would-be contender that just doesn't know how to get over the hump.
Yeah, I think Jerry Jones had mentioned at one point that, there's only so many pieces of pie to cut up, but I think we might have forgotten how big the pie was that he had to cut up. I mean, he's still handing out big contracts. I mean, to me, this was how it had to end. They had to get Ezekiel Elliott on the roster to start the season. You mentioned this competition, Cedric, that they have. You can't get into a tough division and be without a great player in any game. You need to see each one of these games as not must win, but you don't want to be giving any away and look back at the end of the year when you're maybe on the road in a wild card situation and say, man, if we'd have just had Zeke for that game. You don't want to be in that what if position if you're the Cowboys, and now they've at least got all their guys. I mean, maybe they lose some of these games. Maybe he is more rusty than people think, but you at least have all the personnel. And Cedric, I mean, I think now when you talk about Super Bowl favorites, I know the Chiefs are really a hot pick because of what they did a year ago, how close they came to getting to that final game a year ago. But you got to think the Cowboys, before this signing, there's a question. Are they legitimately a Super Bowl contender? Now, aren't they in that conversation?
Absolutely. Not that they're going to get there, because let's be real. The last time the Cowboys played in a Super Bowl, I was 100 pounds lighter and I had hair. And I was hot back then. I'm not hot anymore, but I know that the Cowboys are much better with Zeke Elliott than they would have been even back in the day. And if you can remember the last time they won that first Super Bowl of the 90s, Emmitt Smith held out. And they went 0-2 to start the season. And Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman went in to Jerry's office and said, look, we ain't going down like this. Give Emmitt his money, man. He gave Emmitt his money. Emmitt won the rushing title, and the Cowboys repeated as Super Bowl champs. If you want to be one of the big dogs, then you got to break the big bread to your best players. Dak Prescott, they're trying to do a deal with Dak Prescott in these next few days. They actually tried to do one over the week, but it didn't happen because he's only making $2 million this year. They like to get all their ducks in a row. And the one thing that I think, Jen, is that Jerry realizes at 76 or 77 years old that he doesn't have too many more runs left in him. And this nucleus of Prescott and Zeke Elliott and Amari Cooper, that good offensive line, Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, Byron Jones, those guys are the nucleus of a would-be Super Bowl contender, and he knows that. You don't want to mess that up at this point. This is his last chance to try to get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's tough sledding, because as I'm sitting here thinking about who the favorites are, I mentioned the Chiefs before. I love that they're doing, that air raid offense that I think a lot of NFL teams have been hesitant to dive into full speed ahead. But obviously the magic of Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, just unbelievable, fun to watch, all of that. And yet, Cedric, when you start to think about who could be in the Super Bowl mix, in my mind, obviously Chiefs, the Rams, the Cowboys. You can't forget about the Patriots. I mean, even as Tom Brady, he ages and ages. There's at least half a dozen teams in my mind that legit have a shot to be in that Super Bowl.
Rams, Saints, Patriots, Cowboys, Eagles, Vikings, even. There are some really good teams that are on the come up, and you have to be at full strength if possible, because we know injuries happen. It's a violent game, but don't let something like a little piece of money keep you from getting to where you're going to be. I think the Chargers dropped the ball with Melvin Gordon. They should have tried to come at some kind of agreement. He's been top 3 in total yards and total touchdowns for 3 years running. And so for them to be going into the season without Melvin Gordon, to me, eliminates them as a Super Bowl contender. Maybe a playoff team, but not somebody you're going to take seriously. I got the Chiefs and the Saints in the Super Bowl, with New Orleans winning over Drew Brees outdueling Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's fun that the Dallas Cowboys are at full strength with Zeke. I think it's fun that they're going to play teams like New Orleans, Philadelphia, and the New England Patriots in the regular season. And so we'll find out soon enough how good they are. But these are the kind of games, like the Giants coming up on Sunday. You can't let these kind of winnable games slide through the cracks because you didn't want to break bread to Zeke. You got them, and then you got the Miami Dolphins. Very winnable games. Got to take care of business on that front if you want to go to special places.
Yeah, you said a little thing like money. I'm not sure 90 mil is little, but when you're Jerry Jones, write the check. Let's get this thing done. He did. By the way, if it's Chiefs, Saints, sign me up for that, Cedric. But I still think the Patriots are going to be a player in this whole thing until further notice.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
All right. NFL talk, we'll get to some more in segment 3, but let's head to segment 2 and do winners and losers, Cedric. This is college football's second week, so we want to look back a little bit on week 1, the big opening weekend. Who in your mind tops that winners list after the first week of college football's regular season?
The Oklahoma Sooners. Let me tell you why. Jalen Hurts is as good as advertised and maybe better. And you know why, Jen? Because he is playing for the quarterback whisperer, Lincoln Riley, the maker of men. He has a chance to be the 3rd straight Heisman Trophy winner to come out of the Sooner State. I'm telling you, I know Houston is a horrific defense. No Ed Oliver. They were bad with Ed Oliver. But I'm telling you, that kid looked better throwing the football than he ever did at Alabama. And we know he can move, and he's tough. When he gets to the Big 12 part of his schedule, Katie barred the door. The Oklahoma Sooners are a player. They get a couple of tweaks on that defense. They've got good receivers, CeeDee Lamb, those 2 good running backs, Brooks and Sermon. They are ready to roll. They put the Big 12 on notice. This guy, Jalen Hurts, is a stud horse. He was good in the SEC. He's going to be great in the Big 12.
Yeah, he was impressive, Cedric. Saw it with my own eyes, and was better than I thought he'd be, and I thought he'd be pretty good. But he showed me some things that I didn't think were possible this quickly. He's only been on campus since January, so it's not like he's been around for a long time. The defense, the Oklahoma defense, looks improved. That's going to be key to really see if they can take another step forward as a program under Lincoln Riley. I thought, obviously a lot of people are talking about Jalen Hurts for good reason, but, to me, what we saw out of some of the known commodities, I mean, Trevor Lawrence leading Clemson, looking every bit as good, as dominant as they looked at the end of last year. Obviously, Alabama had some offensive struggles, but still a dominating win. I mean, a lot of teams that you sort of expected to be there, to be playing well even early, did that, took care of business. I thought there were some underdogs that maybe showed themselves, that North Carolina-South Carolina game. I thought North Carolina got a big win. We'll talk about Mack Brown a little bit later. Got to talk about those dance moves a little bit, Cedric.
Let's not.
We'll save that. But I do think that there were definitely some interesting outcomes. I think there'll be more this week though. But before we get to that, any obvious losers? Anybody that really sort of stood out to you as really taking a step back even in week one?
Charlie Strong, South Florida. It's sad, Jen. It is sad. I love Charlie Strong. I had a good relationship with him when he was here at Texas, but he has not gotten it done. He had that one good year with the senior quarterback at South Florida, but then last season they start 7-0 and they haven't won a game since. They got trucked at home, 49-0 by Wisconsin, faking punts, and the punter drops it and gets crushed. Attempting field goals to avoid the shutout, missing field goals, looking bad in all three areas. I fear for Charlie Strong's job in South Florida. It's going south in a hurry. That program is headed to Cuba. That's how south it's going. It's bad, and it's bad in South Florida right now.
Yeah, no, that was not a good outcome. I definitely agree with you there. You know what? I don't want to fall short on the loser side of things, but a winner I forgot to mention, and I need to do this, is the freshman kicker from Nevada, Cedric.
That was cool.
A walk-on, no scholarship, hits a big field goal as time expires. They go into the locker room. Everybody's going crazy. Jay Norvell, the Nevada coach, been on both the Oklahoma staff and the Texas staff during his career, gives him the game ball and a scholarship, and everybody goes crazy again in the Nevada locker room. Love those types of scenes. That was so cool. But let's talk about week 2 for a second, Cedric, because I think while we had some marquee games, obviously, in the first week of the season, I don't know if we had as many as we're going to have this week. And I think that starts down in your neck of the woods with LSU and Texas. Talk about winners. Big-time games like this top that list.
I tell you, I just love it when the big dogs from separate conferences get together. The Texas Longhorns beat the Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl, and now another SEC team beckons. Here come the Bayou Bengals rolling into Austin, full of confidence with their quarterback Joe Burrow, and an up-tempo, pass-heavy offense that has Les Miles turning over in his grave, and he's not even dead yet. So that's how impressive that is, Jen. So I'm telling you, it's going to be great. I think College Game Day is going to be here. I've already seen the trucks in town. They're rolling in. Maria Taylor, Reese Davis, Mr. Herb Street. That crew's coming in, and it's going to be raucous. And we know that LSU travels. There's going to be 10 or 15,000 Bayou Bengals fans in DKR. There's going to be almost 100,000 people in this spot. I think Sam Ehlinger is a box office type quarterback. Can he get it done with that backfield, bringing in one healthy running back, Jen? Just one.
It's crazy.
Deontay Ingram. The other two running backs are a third-string quarterback who got moved to running back and a backup linebacker who got moved to running back. So this is not the game to be that banged up in that running back room. So the onus will be on Sam Ehlinger. And I'm telling you right now, Jen, and we'll talk about it next week, Sam Ehlinger is going to throw a minimum of 40 passes this weekend.
Whew. Yeah, you don't often see Texas in such a between a rock and a hard spot with the running backs. Even those really rough years, whether you're talking Charlie Strong years or the end of the Mack era, they still had plenty of running backs. So that thinness, I think even Tom Herman has talked about how rare that is. So yeah, that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch. You know, a lot of teams out there looking for some bounce back out there this week. When you talk about maybe they were winners a week ago, a team like Michigan State, but not very impressive in their opener. They've got Army coming to East Lansing. Army and their offense that really limits your snaps. That's going to be an interesting game. Missouri went up to Wyoming and lost a week ago, and now they're going to try to get on the right side of things with West Virginia coming in, a Power 5 matchup there. Nebraska is at Colorado. That's an old time. Those of us that have been around a while, Cedric.
I love that one.
Big 8 days. Yeah, what does that look like? So I think a lot of really interesting matchups, some juicy ones. But I'm going to say on the loser side of things are some not so good games. And Cedric, we've got a pair of them in our state this week. Oklahoma playing South Dakota, Oklahoma State playing McNeese State, both FCS teams. Lots of Power 5 teams do this, but man, it's a real downer to have these games. But Cedric, the thing is that these lower level FBS teams are demanding so much payout now that a lot of athletic directors are saying, fans don't care if it's a low-level FBS or a high-level or any level FCS. It's not a name opponent, so why pay an extra $1 million for a team when you can get it for a lot less and make it an FCS team? I understand what they're going through and going for here to save money, but man, these are the type of matchups we see it in the SEC and the regulars. When they get into conference play, they usually have sort of a lower level opponent. We see it everywhere, Cedric, but it doesn't make it feel any better when you've got a matchup like LSU at Texas, and then you've got these FCS teams coming in. I don't know if there's a way to bring the scheduling under one roof, but that feels like something college football eventually will have to address.
I really hope they do. And I know, and I've been covering Texas football for almost 20 years now, and Texas hardly ever schedules an FCS. It's always an FBS opponent, even in non-conferences. So to me, I understand the fiscal ramifications of bringing in a lower tier FBS school that's going to be commanding anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. That's a lot of money. And so South Dakota is not going to ask for $1 million to come to Oklahoma. They may ask for like $250,000, $300,000, and that's great for their budget, and that can support them for the rest of the athletic year. But it's for people like us who love college football, it's not pleasing to the eye.
Yeah. We
We know Oklahoma is going to work whoever they play from an FCS school, and Oklahoma State as well. It's to me, some of the fans like a good blowout, and they don't care who it is. But to people that really enjoy the game for what it is, great college football, kind of like to see them just go Division I v. Division I.
Yeah, and I think as we look down the road with the college football playoff, I think we can all see a day where that expands to 8 teams, and maybe the allure of having extra games against Power 5 teams, or at least all FBS teams on your schedule, maybe that ultimately holds sway. But I understand the economics of it all, but you're right, Cedric, the optics of it all is really kind of hard to swallow when you're thinking about seeing Oklahoma against South Dakota and just the mismatch of those two programs. All right, let's head to segment 3. We're going thumbs up and thumbs down. I had to really think about doing that at the same time, Cedric. That's some sort of weird combination, but
I can't do that and chew gum, so I'm gonna let you handle the physical part of this.
I had to really give it some thought. I couldn't do it at the same time. Anyway, thumbs up or thumbs down? I said we were going to talk about Mack Brown and his dance moves. What are you doing? Up or down?
Those were dance moves. I don't know what those were. I thought for a minute he grabbed at his chest, and I was like, is this a Fred Sanford?
Oh, no.
Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey moment? I don't know. His players loved it. His fans loved it. And let me tell you something, Jen. I've been around Mack Brown for many, many years. That was all about recruiting. Mack knew the cameras were on him. He was happy, and he knows our high school coaches in North Carolina and other areas going, that's the kind of coach I can get behind. I know he looks like he's 100, but he's only like 67. So he's still got some juice left. He's dancing in the locker room.
Yep.
I thought it was a cool deal. The moves did not exactly remind me of Denny Terrio from Dance Fever or any of those cats. But I'm gonna tell you, Mack Brown is happy to be back in the game. It was a big win over Will Muschamp's South Carolina team, and North Carolina. I don't know that they make a bowl game. I was saying I didn't think they would at the beginning of the season, but after beating South Carolina in the opener, who's to say they don't win 6 games and get a bowl?
Yeah, I think it's possible for sure. You know, the ACC, while obviously Clemson very powerful at the top, there's definitely some games in there that'll be winnable on North Carolina's schedule. So, you know, and even though the dance moves, all right, I'm with you, Cedric, convoluted, I'm giving him thumbs up. If for no other reason than Mack was very real, I thought, in the post-game interview he gave on the field. Very emotional. You know, you could sense just what that meant to him to be, and to how he felt about, you know, that win for his team. I thought that was a very genuine moment, even if the dance moves were maybe not quite as smooth as you would otherwise think. But
oh God, they were bad.
They were not great. I'll still go thumbs up. Thumbs up. All right, let's talk about this one. Are you going thumbs up or thumbs down on Team USA at the FIBA World Cup basketball? Where are you at on that right now, Cedric?
I'm thumbs down. I'm an American. I'm used to blowouts. They need to play South Dakota. That's what I want them winning by 20 or 30. Don't give me this. They just beat Turkey by 1 point. Turkey
in overtime.
The only time we need to be talking about Turkey is in late November. So I don't know what Pop is doing. Those guys are young. They don't have those perennial all-stars on the team. They've got a young crew. So these kind of games are going to happen. But I have to give them a thumbs down because I'm American and we invented that game, and we don't want Turkey coming up to beat us. We didn't think it's like Angola beating the Dream Team. We knew it wasn't going to happen. So I think a loss is probably coming, but yeah, I got to give him a thumbs down. I like Pop, but I'm giving him a thumbs down.
Yeah, I wonder if this game might be the motivation to get things really going forward, but they lost an exhibition game as they built up to this against Australia. So, you'd think that maybe that would be the kick in the pants that they needed, or that Greg Popovich needed to then motivate them. So I think this team had to know going in that they were going to be vulnerable, and to allow teams that don't have as much talent to stick around. I think you do have to go thumbs down on this one, Cedric. I'm not saying I didn't think that they would have some close games, but this is still a team with, the deepest talent in the world. I mean, even if these other teams are stocked with their country's best, the U.S. is even down the line list is still going to be better. So they have to play better. This is a team that has the talent to be winning by a lot more, not doing it. Again, maybe a close shave against Turkey in overtime. Maybe that does push them over the top. All right, before we get out of here with thumbs up, thumbs down, Antonio Brown, Cedric. He's releasing the letter when he gets fined by the Raiders. Now we're hearing word that there was a dust-up between Antonio Brown and general manager Mike Mayock. Teams talking about suspending him, maybe trying to, void out this contract. What do you do with all this? It can't possibly be a thumbs up, can it?
He's nuts. He's nuts. He's lost it. And either he was always nuts and the Pittsburgh Steelers did a masterful job of covering up that nuttiness, or he just went off the rails in this last year or so. Either way, you can't be going after your boss or your boss's boss. You can't be going after that guy. You can't be posting Instagrams of the letter where they find you $54,000 for not showing up to work.
Yeah.
You can't be that cat. I don't care who you are. So I think that this thing's about to go way off the rails. Antonio Brown, I wonder if he's even going to play on Sunday. The one thing I told my friends at work today, I said, look, Antonio Brown is still a great football player. I don't have any problem with him on Sunday. But boy, Monday through Saturday, he got problems.
Yeah.
He's got major problems.
Yeah.
And Gruden can only take so much, Jen. They may sit him Sunday, and it wouldn't shock me if they did.
No, it wouldn't me either. And Cedric, you said something when you first started talking about Antonio Brown that he's gone off the rails. And I'm actually a little bit worried about him. And not in a, I'm not trying to joke at all. I think that a lot of this has been sort of joking worthy. I mean, the helmet and the feet and all of these things that have gone on, you just kind of are trying to wrap your head around it, and it, you know, can seem a little bit funny and crazy. But some of this stuff, Cedric, this is a guy that had, you know, he didn't want to be in Pittsburgh. He didn't want to be with the Steelers anymore. He ends up with a franchise that wants him, that's willing to pay him. Basically this second, you know, big chance to get out there and show everybody how great he is. And yet it feels really unstable to me, Cedric. Like, you know, it's hard to say what happens next. And, you know, I just wonder if there's something deeper and maybe a little bit, you know, unhealthy here that, and I don't know what that might be. I don't have any reason to, you know, nothing that I know that anybody else doesn't know, but it just feels like this is a guy that's looking at a great situation and is doing everything to destroy it right now.
$30 million, gonna be gone. The next thing they do, I mean, they put conduct detrimental to the team in this fine. The next thing they do is they come after your signing bonus.
Yeah.
And then they come after your salary. And then they just get rid of you. And then they go to the arbitrator, and the arbitrator looks at the facts and goes, I don't blame you guys for letting him go.
Yeah.
The Players Association has to be calling his agent going, look, man, get your boy in order. What's going on with Antonio Brown?
Yeah.
The one thing that came to my mind, Jen, as I was watching this nightmare play out once again was, man, don't you wish Hard Knocks had gone for an extra week? Wouldn't that have been fun?
Yeah, they quit filming right before apparently this most recent dust-up. Yeah, they're probably wondering if they could just leave some cameras posted around the you know, offices there and see what they could get. Crazy stuff. Cedric, I have no idea if he'll be on the field or not on Sunday. It'll be fascinating if he is. I'm doubtful that he will be. It really sounds like the Raiders are almost at their wits' end with this whole thing, almost just done completely. But regardless of Antonio Brown, the NFL returns this week. Lots of games on Sunday. We'll be watching. We know you will too. We'll talk about that and so much more next week on the Writer's Block. Be sure to join us then.